Have you ever wanted to play an RPG with Heroclix and wanted to see if your team can take out the big baddie at the end and reign supreme over all others? Well, today on Primal Nerds, we do just that, and we introduce to you the RPG. We're going to take a step through, and I'm going to show you how it is that you set up an RPG for Heroclix. What we'll use for reference is a team that I have already pre-built, which is just Black Panther and Okoye.
Okay, so here we go. This right here is the Primal Nerds Heroclix RPG system that we had previously talked about. Now, in this, what you can do is it has all the rules you need to actually play the RPG. Now, in this one, this is just the basic rules for any kind of campaign that you play from here on out. Now, in this, there is also a campaign for Season 1, which is a good and easy way for players to start out on their new RPG and team building and whatnot. So, as you can see here, we scroll down and we get to, there's a lot that is involved in this. There's a lot of pages, but a lot of it, if you can see here, are all things that are attachments to the games that you will be playing. All this right here is all items that pertain to the game itself and how you play. So RPG system, there are a few different changes, but as you can see here with the RPG system, it's fast-paced, fun, heroic combat. You can actually create a hero team, a villain team, or a mix and match, depending on if they share the keyword. So as you can see here, we go to the basics, there are going to be some different changes. So your normal actions are as usual: close combat actions, range combat actions, power actions, free actions, but there is an additional one, which is epic actions. Epic actions are something introduced to the game to make it more epic and thematic. So what that basically does is you're granted one per game round, not round, but mission. And with that, you can do certain things. And you see here, you just go page 10 and it shows you what it is. Objects are different as they are in the normal Heroclix because they can be retained. There is a structural integrity roll for each item, so if you use it, you can destroy it, or it can actually still be placed in the game. So you have the luck of actually picking it up and using it again if you so like, or if you get lucky enough to roll for something like that. Now, on to the big part, creating your supers team. Now, the way it works in this game is you're only allowed 30 points. 30 points, and you have to have at least 2 characters in order for you to even start the campaign or start the game. Now, with that, one of the characters has to have the leadership ability or a trait that gives them leadership anywhere on their dial. They do not have to start off with it. As long as it's on their dial, they retain that ability throughout the whole game. They don't have to have it showing on their dial. There's a reason for that, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But the reason why you're only getting 30 points for those 2 characters is because we've changed up in how it works and how you can actually make this into an RPG. As you can see here, I've illustrated an example how Elseworlds 2 Superman has a total of 90 points, but he has 7 clicks of health. Now, how the RPG works is you take that 90 and you divide it by that 7 clicks of health, and he gets a result of 12.85 or 13. You always round up. Now, with that 13, that means every click of health is worth 13 points. So when you recruit him in the beginning, he's only worth 13 points, and he starts off on his last click. So between missions, when you get experience points and points from souvenirs, which I'll get into later too as well, but when you accumulate enough points for another click, which is 13 points for Superman, during missions you can upgrade him, level him up, if you want to call it that, for 13 points to his next click. Totaling, by the time that he's done, it'll be 90 points total to get him to his full health click. So click number 1, and that character will be fully upgraded. You can't do any more than that. Now, there are things in the game that make them different that make them more powerful. Like I was talking about before, they're called souvenirs. You know them as resources or items or equipment. The way the game works is equipment, even if the character says that they come with equipment, the equipment is not allowed in the game. It is something they have to earn or obtain during gameplay. So just like Green Goblin, he comes with the Goblin Glider. Well, when you play the RPG, he doesn't get the Goblin Glider. It is just your basic form of that character. Like, they have to earn that rank or that mantle of who they are in the comic books, because at the point, these guys are all brand new. They're learning their abilities, they're learning who their teammates are, and they're learning what they can do. That's the whole reason for this. Now, along with recruiting new characters for the team, again, you have to, in order for you to recruit a new character, it is their basic point cost. Again, Superman, 90 points, he's 13 points per click. So for 13 points, you can recruit Superman, but he will start on his last click if you were recruiting him. And that's how it works. Also, the characters themselves, no other team can pick that character unless they have a different name. Like I said, Green Lantern. There's tons of Green Lanterns. But the named character, you have like Hal Jordan, John Stewart, those guys are two different characters. So two different people in the league could have Green Lanterns, just different named. So once a named character is taken, that is the end for that character. No other team can take him. So what we'll do here is you go to a team roster. The team roster here shows you basically what your team name is. And again, it's going to be based off of team abilities, team keywords, but they all have to share it. So let's say you can't put an X-Men and a Justice League together because they don't share the same team keyword. But you can see here you have your team leader. This is the one that's going to have leadership in the beginning. He is the one you have to start with. So you put your team leader here, who it is, and then you have your team members. Whoever your team leader is also has to be the first one there. Now, later on in the game, if you have somebody else who you think would be a much better suited for that role, you can actually change out your team leader and make that new member your team leader. And then as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can have 8 main members on your team. Again, you can see here their upgrade experience. So again, that's Superman, 90 points total. His upgrade experience is 13. You would just type in 13 right here. And the more you accumulate or you upgrade them or level them up, you will add those in. So let's say he goes to level 2. That's 26 points. So he would actually be worth 26 points after he levels up. And then so on and so forth for your team. Now, the reason why the total experience worth ends up coming up in the math of your whole team of what their point costs are is because once you get to 150 points, as you can see here, in upgraded costs, meaning the total cost, colossal characters will be allowed to be played. Now, there's a reason for that, because obviously a colossal figure is pretty big, usually pretty powerful, and if you're starting off the game with a colossal figure and you're another person who's playing in a league and you end up having to fight them, let's say you're playing a hero team and they're playing a villain team, matchups like that are going to happen. And if you're starting off with a colossal figure, it is pretty unfair for the other party because it's just too overpowered. So in order to make it fair, once you hit that 150 points, and that stands for everyone, then you can start using colossal figures. Now, it also means, when I stated before about having another team that you're fighting against, there is the option as well for, let's say you have 2 people who have an X-Men team. Because there's so many of them, this is really a viable option. There can be 2 different people playing in the league that you're using the X-Men team ability. Now, you don't have the same figures because you can't, hence the name. You mean there's only one Nightcrawler. So let's say one guy has Nightcrawler and the other person has somebody else. Well, when you face off, you actually have the option to co-op with the team. And when you do, once you get to the point where the team abilities actually matter, you get a boost to that team ability because you're fighting with somebody, alongside somebody who shares the same values and the same team as you. Same thing like here, Justice League. There's so many characters, there's going to be multiple teams that are viable. Now, when I talked about the team ability portion, that goes more or less into the actual campaign itself. The initial campaign is called Super's Academy Campaign. What this is a starting point for the league. This makes it to where all your team members are going to be weak. As you can see here, here, not even here. Here, all characters must be Earth-based characters such as street level, like X-Men, Avengers, minus Thor because he's not street level, he's a god. Teen Titans minus Starfire because she is from another world. So again, you have to have a little bit of knowledge of comic book lore to know who's from Earth, who's not from Earth. Like Thor, he's from Asgard, but he does a lot of stuff on Earth, but he can't count because he's a god. So that means like Superman. Yes, Superman, his whole life has been on Earth, but he is an alien. So we're basically like a good Earth-based character team I can think of are X-Men. Majority of them are Teen Titans, are Avengers, are Justice League, or a good one would be Marvel Knights, or what's another one? Like the Defenders. Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, Punisher. Those guys are Earth-based, street-level characters. That would be a good team. Now, it states here where the team abilities do not come into play during Season 1 until the last fight, due to the fact that your team is initiating itself. You are a brand new team. You are learning who each other are, what your abilities are, what your team abilities are, what you guys do as a faction, and you're trying to make a name for yourself. This is a new world. Characters all of a sudden are coming around that have powers, superpowers, can fly, can shoot beams out of their eyes. Science has evolved into a new level. So you have all these teams, and basically what Super's Academy is the government and underground organizations caught wind of all these new beings, all these new characters, all these new heroes and villains, and they want a team for themselves because, as you know, when it comes to human society, power is everything. So in the final mission, in the end game, you can fight cooperatively with more than one team at the same point because the end boss is going to be pretty hard to fight. Obviously, he's the end boss. Now, it is also important to note that because this is a league game or a multiplayer game of multiple teams, backstabbing is authorized. It actually is what makes the game fun because let's say you both have an X-Men team and you both want Wolverine. Sorry if you do. Not a big fan of him, but let's say you want Wolverine and the other guy wants Wolverine. Well, there is a roll-off on who will get that team member. Now, whoever rolls highest will be able to recruit Wolverine. Now, that's also where the backstabbing comes in. Well, let's say you don't want Wolverine, but you don't want the other person in a league to have him. You can just simply state you want him too and win the roll so he doesn't get him. This is a way of making sure that your team is more viable and that your team is stronger than theirs. Because in the end, the one who has the most points, who has the best team, who's actually able to finish the end boss, is the one who wins that league. There are other options when it comes to play as well, because as you see here, there is a hero side to the missions. There is a villain's side to the missions. Now this right here, these scenarios are only for the Supers Academy campaign, because when we get into season 2 or season 3, depending on how long this goes, if this is something that everybody ends up liking, we're going to be changing with the rules for a lot of these things. So you're beginning. So as a hero, your first mission will be a street sweep. You're just going through, going back alleys, making sure that you're taking care of the enemies or whatnot. And then you have the robbery. We're trying to fool a robbery or a bank heist. Then you have one where you start making a name for yourself. People know who you are. You're becoming more powerful. So now bad guys are trying to stop you from becoming better. So you have like experimentations and bombs that are going to be going off, and your job is to halt that experiment or disable the bombs. Then you also have the hostage rescue, and finally you have the villain showdown. Now these are all based off of level experience. Each one of these is a higher value than the one before it. So the higher you go into your point value, the harder the mission's going to be. Obviously, just like most games. Now that we've seen how you create a team from the beginning, let's go in and take a look on how you can do this and figure out what teams that are available and who is available for that team. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go to HC Realms. HC Realms is amazing when it comes to figure database and how you are going to get that figure. We're in the units portion here, as you can see here. And what we will do is we will go down here, and I want to make my Black Panther Wakanda team. So what you do here is, since Wakanda does not have a team ability, you go to keyword. Click keyword, and you're going to scroll all the way down to Wakanda. Man, there's a lot. So we go to Wakanda. So now we've picked Wakanda. We're going to go to search. Now these are all your Wakandan characters that share the same keyword, all the way down to the very beginning, or actually Avengers Defenders War. Now the one that I picked is the Black Panther on the throne. There's a reason for this. The reason being is because he has the leadership ability, and friendly characters with Wakanda keyword modify their attack values by +1. So he is giving all of his Wakanda friends a +1 to their attack values, which is awesome. Makes it better for you to hit them. Now, his leadership ability, however, allows him to generate a Wakandan Warrior by his side. Now, if you look at his clicks here, he doesn't get that ability until he is on his 3rd click. So that would mean that you get him here for recruitment. You had to level him up twice to get that ability. But even though you start him on click number 5, he still retains the leadership ability, but he does not get the leadership ability that allows him to create warriors, just the leadership ability itself. Now, we look at him, he's 65 points, and he's 5 clicks of health. So with that math, what you're going to do is you're going to take the 65 here, you're going to divide it by 5. And what that gives you is exactly 13 points. So let's go here, and it won't let me, but let's say we put 13 points here, right? He's going to be your team leader, so you're going to put Black Panther here, and you're going to put the team members here. Now, the way you put the team members is you have to put in what set they were in. So ADW, it'll be ADW for Avengers Defenders War, number 058. Black Panther, 13 points, and since you've recruited him, he's only worth 13 points. So now you've got your leader. Now you need to start filling in the ranks. You have to have at least 2 characters to start. So now we go back to HC Realms. Let's see what else we can do here. Now I know I want somebody else who's going to give me a benefit on characters. So what we'll do is we're going to go to the Avengers, Black Panther, and the Illuminati set, and we're going to look up Okoye. Now, her figure's not here yet. HC Realms does sometimes take a while before they actually fill in the pictures and everything else. But we look here, she also has a leadership team ability, but you can only use it once, as you know, for when it comes to leadership ability. But that doesn't matter. So she can be a secondary leader if you wanted her to be, but that's not what we're having her for. So again, 65 points for 5 clicks of health, comes back up to 13 points. So now you're 26 points in to your 30-point build. But why are we taking Okoye? Well, she's going to be getting a +1 to her attack because of Black Panther. So that gives her a 12 on her first click of health. 3 damage. So you're pretty much going to be taking out a lot of guys. And she has the support ability, or I'm sorry, the defend ability, which gives, you know, people next to her 19 defense. That's pretty good. And she has sidestep of 6 with a range of 4, so she has a little bit of range. So basically her range is 6, essentially. But her big thing here is she can summon rhinos on her turn. So that right there is going to give you, from turn 1, additional characters on the field, as opposed to only having 2. That's powerful. And they're also, if I believe, they have the Wakandan keyword too, I think, which gives them a +1 to their attacks as well. That's pretty cool. So here, for the price of 26 points, you're getting 3 characters on the field. So now let's look at somebody else who would be cheaper. And I talked about this before, about having characters with various names because they're just minions. They don't count for anything. They don't die in the game because they would just replenish for free. But you still have to pay their initial cost. And if you want to add any more of those minions to your team, you have to pay their initial cost as well. But let's go to Wakandan Warrior here. Okay, 20 points at 3 clicks of health means that he is worth 6.6 points. So he's 7 points worth. Now, you only have 26 points in your team, which means you only have 4 points left to spend. Do you have to spend them? No, you don't. It can go right here into your experience pool total. So any leftover experience that you have will go right here into your experience pool total. This is what you have to spend between missions, so you actually keep a tally of what you have. Now, in order for you to recruit another member for your team leader here has to be upgraded at least to level 2 before you recruit. So let's go back up to units. It is important to know this when you're actually going to HC Realms to look at this too, because it can be daunting at first. So let's go with team affiliation. Okay, let's go with Avengers. So we got Avengers. Now you have to know that there are a lot of Avengers in the sets that have Avengers as keywords but not as team ability. So what you do is you could type in here Avengers as well, and what this should do is bring up any and every Avengers keyword, team ability, what have you, that has ever been created. So this gives you both. So when you're wanting to build an Avengers team, you can literally look through this list for every Avenger that was ever made in any set, and this gives you the opportunity to build your mighty, mighty Avengers.
So as you saw here, this is how you build your first team. Again, it's pretty simple and self-explanatory as set in the rulebook, which you can find in the link below, along with the campaign rules itself. Now, this was just part 1. Part 2 will be getting further in depth on the campaign itself and furthermore into the rules of the rulebook too, because there's a lot of changes that have to be made to the game in order for this to actually work as an RPG. And again, if you're willing to play test this and work with us to make this game even better and make it something that a lot of leagues can be started at comic book stores around you, please feel free, help us out. This is only going to make the game better. As always, if you like what you see, you want to see more, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, hit that bell notification. And as always, later nerds.